Bill, you don't seem particularly prepared. Am I surprised? No, I'm not.
Did, was I supposed to be? What did I was supposed to prepare?
Well, generally, just get ready to be, well, not
Me?
mesmerized, but get ready for something. Anyway,
I'm I'm ready for you, Sandy.
speaking of seeing,
Yep.
mesmeric. Mesmerized. What is something that has mesmerized you, Bill?
Shows with you, Sandy.
Of course, but really,
Um, yeah, that's a good question. Actually, you know what I quite enjoy, like kind of made me feel that way was that the light show thing at the Tate Modern you suggested I go to.
yeah, Anthony McCall.
I mean
Amazing show.
that was I feel like mesmerize involves something um not otherworldly but outside the ordinary, you know?
Sure.
Like requires some level of sort of magic.
Okay.
Although that was not the original meaning of the term, right?
Well, it comes from a person, the
Yeah,
word
mesmer. Yeah.
Anton Mesmer. We'll talk about him in a minute. But I'm still
Okay.
curious, when you went to the exhibition that was at Tate Modern,
Yeah.
Anthony McCall, Solid Light, this mesmerizing magic. What happened to you when you were in that space with those lights?
Uh, well, you definitely feel like you're somewhere else. Um,
Do you feel like you're
it-
somewhere else, or do you feel like you are simply with or somehow present to yourself?
oh, I see. Um, Certainly outside input, distracting outside input is lessened, not just because of the environment, but just your attention is pulled into something like that.
Hmm.
You get lost in it a bit.
Is it enjoyable?
Um, yes, for me, because I have a hard time doing that.
Yeah, can you go into that a little bit? You have a hard time doing that. What?
I have a hard time letting go of objective reality. I have a hard time letting myself float, letting my mind wander.
So does it serve you to allow that to happen?
Sure, yeah, but
But
it's
this is
hard to
what
do.
I'm asking. What does it do?
It makes me feel like anything is possible. It makes me feel lightened. It makes me feel it's funny you were saying that if it's more like yourself in some ways actually it's almost a dissociative kind of thing for me where I feel like I am not myself during those times and
Or
that's what's nice about it.
maybe you just don't cling on to the, well, it's clinging on to the identity, isn't it? So
The
you
trappings of Bill Wadmanness.
you give up the ego of Bill Wadman, don't you?
Sure.
You're just present. So
Yeah.
is something mesmerizing, or have you ever been mesmerized by something that ultimately is a negative thing, like a transfixion or a transfixation on something?
I can't think of one but I'm sure the answer could be yes, but I
Well,
can't think of one off the top of my head.
I think about folklore characters, figures like vampires, they
Sure.
transfix you, don't they? They're designed to. They draw
Yeah.
you in. They tend to be beautiful and sexy and charming. And it's all designed to transfix. The stare
Yeah.
can be held and then, one swift move and the
Well, there's a seduction to all of that,
eyeball.
isn't there?
Hmm. I mean, I can't really say that I've been transfixed by something negative, but I wonder if I would even know it. That's the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm,
I think that when you're in that state, you're not thinking about things on that level.
And I have been transfixed by things, and I know that I've been mesmerized and often am mesmerized by things. And as an art um, enthusiast, often in galleries looking at things where I'm really drawn in by them, where I, give up myself, not consciously, it just happens, so that I'm in the act of not even being with the painting. Something collapses. We've spoken about this many, many times over many years now.
Hmm.
But painting, particularly painting, can be mesmerizing.
I
Anyway,
mean, I think that collapsing is an interesting word. There's sort of a loss of distance. Yeah, I mean, not necessarily in physical space, but also just sort of your distance between you and whatever it is you're looking at, or in this case, you can almost imagine being in the room, being Rembrandt looking at himself, like there's like this sort of hypnotic kind of state.
yeah, I was sort of thinking about conditions of the mesmerizing, whatever it
Hmm.
is. And as you know, I was in Amsterdam 2 weekends ago. Was
Hmm.
that 2 weekends ago? I can't even remember. But
Yes, it would be now. Yep.
we were in the Rijksmuseum looking around, and this little Rembrandt, and it is a little painting, is in a really what I think of as an unassuming position. It's not, given much space, really, or rather, it's not given a great entrance, or you're not led to it as such. You have to notice it.
Yeah.
I noticed it by accident. I was going to march past it, steered by my daughter who was bored out her mind. And I saw it, and I then took time to go to it. And when I was at the painting and I was engaged with it, I was up to a point held by it. I'm not going to say I was mesmerized by this, but it did get me thinking about this act of being mesmerized. And I was wondering about Rembrandt, and you asked earlier, how many self-portraits did he make? He made about 40 painted self-portraits in his lifetime, which is a lot. I think he died when he was 66. So he made,
Yeah.
one a year, one every 18 months at least. He he himself was mesmerized, perhaps. This act of painting, the zone of painting, is a space of mesmerization, isn't it? Space of making a
Yeah.
photograph. You put your eye to a viewfinder, or maybe you don't do that. You'll be looking at a screen more likely.
Ugh, hate him. But yes.
But, are you mesmerized by what you see? Do you become transfixed by your sitter? And is that how it happens?
Uh,
Or is that?
Actually, no. For me, in fact, in the moment, I have a hard time seeing. Um, it sounds really weird.
Mm.
Uh, when I am taking pictures of somebody and I'm looking through the viewfinder, often I will go home and think, why didn't I straighten out that line? Why didn't I turn it this way? I didn't even notice that that guy's tie is upside down. It's like I can't see detail. I just see this like blob of something in front of me. And then it's later when I'm looking at them that I become transfixed somehow.
Oh, no, but
Maybe
isn't it that actually the fact that you don't notice the detail because you're so present simply with
the person.
something of the person?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it would be different if I was taking pictures of landscapes or something. I am so scared of losing the subject, like losing their attention, losing the connection with them, that I do things technically wrong all the time.
So for a painter
Yeah.
at their easel, looking, engaging with themselves, I mean, technical
They have a
exercise,
lot more time.
they have a lot more time.
Yeah.
But one could say, oh well, Rembrandt, this is a technical exercise. He painted himself so often, not because he was, um, you know, egomaniac or
Or was
particularly
he?
vain. More it was that he was available to himself to
Yeah.
practice, but also I think there was something of good humor in his self-portraiture in that he lovingly, tenderly recorded himself as he went through his life. I think there's a brilliance in that. But there's also something about fixing one's own gaze long enough to make something as the record of the moment that is shared with oneself. And I think about the many ways in which each of us, how we engage with our mirror, whatever our mirror is.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting though that I wonder if even him looking in a mirror, I was thinking of that scene at the beginning of Bridge of Spies when they show Mark Rylance painting himself. If you've never seen it, the opening scene of Mark Rylance is like this wide shot from behind. It's like of a painting, and it pulls out and it shows that there's a mirror there, and he's like looking back and forth to the mirror and painting himself, doing a self portrait.
Mm.
And I wonder if there isn't something, if you're doing something like that, you're so concerned with the details, especially when you get later on, that I wonder if you're even looking at the whole image at a certain point, you know?
Mm.
If you literally get lost in the trees despite the forest, you know, or the other way around, or however you say it, you know?
Well, you said about the word mesmer
Yeah.
from this person. This is Franz Anton Mesmer, a German, can I call him a physician? He certainly moved into, I think people thought he was a charlatan.
Yeah,
Um,
there's some quackery going on there.
Quackery, that was the word I was reaching for. Um, his coined terminology was animal magnetism. He believed that there was this fluid that moved around the body. It was governed by the planets, much the same as the tides are governed by the moon,
Yep.
and that it had to sort of be brought to heel, I guess. And he used
Yep.
magnets and he used um,
Batteries and electricity.
fluids
Yeah.
and, currents and things like that to convince people that they were cured or could be cured of their ailments based on this kind of magnetism. And he actually, in the end, believed himself to be the source of the animal magnetism that could heal others. Now,
Really? He
in,
thought that he was the center of the universe.
he is made fun of widely and in
Hmm.
his lifetime as well. I mean, he was not chased out of Paris, but he had to leave his practice in the Place Vendôme where he'd set up shop. He notoriously slept with young, vulnerable women who came to him with chronic conditions and wanted to be healed. And he
Hysteria and whatnot.
maybe took advantage of that. Who knows? But in the end, I think he caused such suspicion because so many people did actually seem to get better through this process or this kind of event, this happening, that the king wanted a report written. Uh, it strikes me that we are always suspicious of things that are magic
Hmm.
and that we set out to disprove them. And when I think about the painter and the painting, and whether we always want to get in between somehow, don't we? To cause trouble. We
Between
want
the painter and the work.
kind of, yeah. And it's a very loose connection I know here, but because it's about this idea that we're somehow transfixed, either as a viewer or as the artist, or also as the sitter, often we're transfixed. We're held
Sure.
in a moment. Um, I wonder about the currency of energy through all of that, and how we perhaps also rather seek to disprove the energy of it, the magic of that even. We don't
Well,
like it. Vicious of
there's some question of not space time, but like in your equation of getting in between if you were sitting watching Rembrandt paint that thing, and we're looking at that painting 400 or 500 years later, it's it's interesting. We kind of want to also be in the room. We can almost imagine ourselves in the room at times. You
Mm.
know, the Sargent show at the Met just closed on Sunday, and there was a painting in there that was also at the fashion one of the two kids. It's like a young boy and like a little girl, and she's like staring straight into the camera. She's staring straight out of the painting, um, and it almost looks you could almost see her being exhausted by supposedly he had like 34 sittings with the kids because he just couldn't get it right or whatever. You could almost see her exhaustion in the moment, even though this thing happened 140 years ago. There's still this like it's like the time gets short circuited. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Um, we are not looking at the result of the subject and the work. The artist and the work. We are somehow inside of it. Um,
Oh, Bill, have you actually gone woo-woo yourself? This is incredible.
I'm just going along with you, my friend.
I'm I might as well fall off my chair.
I
I'm
don't know that this is exactly what's happening, but it's certainly what it feels like when you're watching, when you're looking.
right. I mean, I'm not quite sure what I didn't come into this wanting something in particular from it.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite sure how it would pan out. I've got something very different on the next slide that's still obviously within the realm of being mesmerized, but really I am the thing that brought me to it is well, I mean actually I saw the word mesmeric and I thought the word itself was rather beautiful. I was rather mesmerized by the word mesmeric. And then went on to find out about
But is
France.
that only because you have a thing in your head about what mesmerize means?
Sure, but then I was in the Rijksmuseum and I saw the Rembrandt painting and I thought, everybody else is over, in that other room looking at um
Night watch or
the Night
whatever.
Watch or the Vermeers on the wall, and
Yeah.
nobody's over here looking at this little painting. And I thought, I will
You
stand
look
here
lonely.
and as I said, it wasn't that I was transfixed necessarily by the painting, but it's that I then became aware of the engagement between the artist and the image. And then I
Yeah.
became aware of my engagement with it, which became intensified, even though, I was being hurried off because my daughter was bored. I really was rather glued to the spot. Mm, and I thought about the current that travels through time, or where rather time is inconsequential, like the girl in the Sargent painting staring at you. You could see her maybe impatience or
Yeah. But do you think that in some way that communications that time travel is only true of works that work, you know, the ones that are successful, as it were?
sure, but of course that's then a subjective thing.
Sure, of course, that's the problem where it goes. But yeah,
I mean, I looked through lots of examples of painting, even for this evening, thinking, what else can I show as an example of something that mesmerizes? And I actually at one point typed in art that mesmerizes, and the artwork that came up was left me cold. I had no engagement with it whatsoever. And not just, I think, because it was on a screen and I was, had a fixed idea or anything like that. It was that, it wasn't successful to me. But then, of course, I asked myself, what is success in painting? And does it mean, is a successful painting one that does utterly transfix? Am I held stapled to the spot by certain paintings? Yes, I am.
sure.
And I love it when it happens unbidden.
But your list is different than my list is different than your daughter's list.
Sure, definitely different than hers. My goodness.
Yours and mine might overlap a bit.
Would maybe overlap. Anyway, I don't know if you recognize this work because there was a huge installation in MoMA, on the ground floor of MoMA.
Oh, these are the big screen things. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Do you feel like those are cheating?
well, I've got lots to say about this. Refik Anadol is a Turkish artist. I mean, talk about somebody making a lot of money from their craft. I think it's $5 million in 2021 alone from NFTs. Uh,
Well, those aren't worth much now, but yes,
but
she got the money. Yeah.
value,
Yeah.
value of something that is mesmerizing. Um, these are digital paintings or data paintings,
How does
rather.
she make them? Do you know?
Yes, I do, but I'll have to read because this is something. Can I just put something in here? The other day, I sent an email to an artist, a UK-based artist called Alison Goodyear, who I don't know if she would ever watch this, but she followed me on Instagram, and I was so taken with it that I looked at her website and I spent some time reading about her, and I asked her, would she mind being one of my guests to be interviewed? She's too busy, she doesn't want to do it, maybe at the moment or maybe at all, I don't know. But her work is kind of like digital painting, and I think I don't know if it's her who's coined this term, but phygital, as in
Okay.
PH work, in which sometimes there can be like a physical element, or there is a physical element, and then there's another part that is entirely generated by a kind of digital source. But part of my thinking about this is I would be really interested to speak to somebody who is a data painter, for example, data artist, because I have absolutely no understanding whatsoever about the technology that's involved in creating them. I don't understand really how any part of this works. I can sort of get there when it's described to me that lots of, existing information is taken and then cast or dreamt out onto a space
Okay.
by a computer. That means that these are like living paintings. They're happening as we're looking. But because I'm such a technophobe and because I have very limited understanding, awareness of how any of this might come to be, I find it fascinating more than I otherwise would maybe any other form of image making at the moment. Um, where have I written it? I want to say uses digital algorithms generated by computers to transform data into expressive forms that tell visual stories, because data is in flux.
Yeah. There's no actual information of how that is actually done in there.
Hang on. Wait, I wrote down more.
Okay.
Um, he coined the term data painting about 2008. He said that in the early days, I was just trying to make the invisible visible, and data remains hidden, and he wanted to expose that kind of information. I suppose that doesn't tell you how he makes them.
I mean, it's yeah. I mean, it's like Imogen Heap has those gloves that she output MIDI data and does all kinds of interesting things. And people see it's like, oh, she's just up there on stage doing this and crazy things are happening. And I look at it and I go, oh, she's got accelerometers in the gloves. The accelerometers are sending data to a computer. That data is turning it into MIDI data. MIDI data is feeding a reverb, and that's changing the size of the room she's in by a way she moves her hand or whatever it is. Like, to me, it's like I can understand that kind of thing. I'm sure there's some proprietary thing where they don't want it to be known how they do these things because. But I'm sure there are 100 different people doing similar things, or thousands of people doing similar things.
Well, yes. I mean, it does say that it's his special AI algorithm stores
Yeah, there you go.
information and then dreams it into the gallery. And that was about the work at MoMA that you may have seen in the
I
lobby.
uh, I have seen him. I have very mixed feelings about this kind of stuff.
But hang on, wait just a second before you bring your feelings into it.
Yes.
Feelings into it that
Don't
are,
bring feelings into these things,
well,
Bill.
no, do bring feelings in, but be aware why the feelings come. You know, you and I have got a broad overview of history, art history,
Hmm.
um, that's present in us when we see anything.
Hmm.
If you can move away from it, if you are to be mesmerized, I guess there's a sense that you don't bring any of that with you. And so if I'm trying to put myself in the position of this person standing looking at this work and seeing it move and change, and much like the Anthony McCall work that you and I both saw at Tate Modern, where we went into a room that was filled with, well, of course it was filled with light and darkness, but in a kind of sculptural sense, we were transfixed. I would
Yep.
be transfixed by this. I would be watching this. I would be
Sure.
held by it. And I would previously have said, I don't like digital art. It makes a mockery of the craft of, let's say, a painter. But I don't know what I'm talking about because actually the thing is doing what the thing should do.
Yes, but could that thing do it without any person involved? In which case, what is the person doing? I mean, you could have a machine with no human input output a bunch of visual stuff that we find pleasing.
Right. Well, then this is where we come to the kind of new frontier, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's we're getting close to the point where there will be a separation between humans and the art that we consume. And whether all of these centuries where we have put meaning into art because of the human connection gets lost.
But isn't being mesmerized about something different to all that stuff, the ingredients that we put into meaning? Mesmerizing, something this is mesmerizing, perhaps doesn't have meaning on the same terms or
Sure. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
ballpark as something that is profoundly moving.
Yeah. Do you find these things profoundly moving or do you just find them sort of visually
Mesmerizing.
arresting?
Mesmerizing. But I'm looking at what mesmerizing is, and I go back to Rembrandt and I say, what is mesmerizing for the artist? What is mesmerizing for the audience? For that little painting that, oh, I think it was one of the earliest paintings he ever made, self-portraits.
Hmm.
There's no meaning in that, is there?
Well,
I'm not him.
do you ever question whether it's novelty? These are new. You've spent an hour of your life looking at them, but if you spent 400 hours looking at them, eventually you'd go, "Eh, it's another one of those things."
Wouldn't that be true of anything that we can see?
Maybe, but you know what? That Rembrandt's been there for 500 years, and you were still transfixed by it just by looking at paintings your whole life.
Sure. But I also know that had I walked into, I mean, this isn't the MoMA version, but if I was in MoMA now and I was in the
Hmm.
lobby and there are
Hmm.
these three huge panels that have drawn upon, innumerable pieces, bits of information, and it was moving and it was colorful, and, maybe I'm just like a big baby and I'm, looking at my mobile in my cot or something, but nonetheless, it is transfixing. And isn't it refreshing that I no longer have to bring my suitcase of memories?
I see what you're saying.
Mm.
I I think that there is. I think it's a shortcut to a lot of things that our brain is looking for. I don't know if there's a lot of soul there.
But am I not there?
No, I think part of it is that you lose yourself, which is kind of where we started, right?
Yes, and isn't it strange that you and I could even see that so differently? Is that when
Sure.
Sandy Robertson is not being Sandy Robertson, isn't that where my soul is?
Well, I don't. I think your soul is missing at that point.
Well, wanted poster.
Dead or alive.
Oh, Belle, it's so nice to speak to you.
Good to see you, Tim.
Bye.